Caveat. This is just a mini review based on the 7 or so hours I invested in the limited time freeware promo the devs gave out a couple of weeks ago. It is by no means a complete review, but even with my limited time with the game, I opted to do this review because Generation Zero's premise, that of a band of friends staving off a robot uprising in a 1980s setting, is so intriguing that I really want this game to improve. In the interest of improving the game, this critique will largely focus on what needs to be improved rather than its positive aspects. Hopefully, the devs who are very active on the forums will act on what they deem to be workable aspects, because I do understand they're not a AAA outfit. When Generation Zero first made waves on Steam, I was very fascinated with its core concept. That fusion of Red Dawn and Terminator, but with quadrupedal killbots, has that quintessential 1980s vibe even without the additional nostalgia-inducing trappings that include transistor radios and the leather jacket and moosed-up hairdo ensembles. It promised exceptional AI and a sense of permanence. The devs claimed that machines that you failed to kill might show up later, displaying the same level of damage you inflicted on it minutes ago. The game's graphics is pretty exceptional too. So much so they've included a picture mode where you can disable the UI and take screenshots of stunning sunsets, idyllic rivers, and shadow-wreathed groves. When it launched, however, it received mostly negative reviews, and these did prevent me from buying the game. This messy release was one of the times that you thought something revolutionary would erupt and forever raise the bar of a certain genre, but then get deluged by a slew of negative feedback from fellow gamers. It was disappointing to say the least. However, a few weeks back, the developers released a major update and now the game has a mostly positive review, which revved up my interest for the game again. Sometime later, they released their game for free for 5 or so days. I promptly downloaded it and played for 8 hours or so. Or was it 7? I think I played for 8 hours or so. So how was my experience? If I were to summarize it now, I would say it has promise, but it needs some working on. The early game starts off as a fun but tense romp as you slowly make your way in from a riverbank and into clusters of abandoned homes, scavenging what you can from houses, cars, and barns. The first time one of the machines spots you, emits an eerie cry and lopes towards you, guns firing, is a hair-raising experience. And what an experience it is for new players. The robots in Generation Zero sport a utilitarian, realistic look that blends perfectly with the game's aesthetics. The first enemies you encounter are some sort of metallic hounds. Small, sparse, and pneumatic-powered limbs surround box-like bodies that hold automatic rifles. The first time I encountered one, a runner that stuck out its head from the undergrowth surrounding a large tree, I wasn't sure if I should make a run for it or engage the thing. Can I manage to take it down with the pistol that I had? I thought. I could, and did. But the thing only fell after more than a handful of shots. Meanwhile, the metallic construct managed to take a chunk out of me and I had to patch myself up after the encounter. It was fun the first 3 hours or so. During that time, I managed to salvage an assault rifle, a hunting rifle, and sniper scopes. I also got a bevy of throwables like gas tanks, EMP bombs, and radios and flares. The last items can be used to confound enemies or lure them into carefully laid traps. However, the experience soured sometime after that. For the first several hours, Generation Zero throws the same enemies at you in almost the same types of terrain. There are the metal hounds and large hulking bipedal things that, in the early game, you should do well to stay away from. The hounds display believable AI. Some do flank, and given a chance, they'll charge you and execute the slam attack that emits a shockwave around it. Very awesome to behold. However, after several hours, it becomes apparent that you'll be facing these same enemies and things start to feel repetitive. Other games could get away with grindy gameplay because they have several factors that make the gameplay engrossing. Borderlands has zany guns and spectacular effects. Gearbox Software's game also has encounters that have radio chatter that immerses you into the firefight. Generation Zero, because of its setting, cannot have far-future sci-fi guns, nor can it have crazy effects like acid-spewing guns. It needs to only have present day and near future guns. You encounter a group of robots, you exchange fire with them, dodging into and out of trees and other intervening terrain in the hopes of evading enemy fire. No enemies erupting the torrents of flame and acid. No robots firing electrical arcs. And that's fine. It is fine. What bothers me is that each encounter is a battle of attrition. You whittle away at enemy armor, and after a time, a robot goes down in a shower of sparks and a plume of smoke. The experience is just static. After a time, it starts to feel like a process. A process that's devoid of excitement. The terrain doesn't help either. Most of the time, you're either in a field or in a copse of trees. With the game's fairly competent AI, I feel it's a missed opportunity for the devs' systemic reaction not to introduce more varied terrain. It's confusing that they didn't take advantage of what they have. All the elements of greatness are there: a capable AI, throwables that enable you to make traps, good particle effects like dust, sparks, and smoke, convincing sound effects, solid art design. With these, they could have woven scenarios where players could have firefights that feel satisfying as they outmaneuver and outsmart the metallic automatons. As it is, with the usual terrain, even with the radios and flares and EMP bombs, firefights are more often than not devoid of moments that you can relish because you just lured in enemies into mines and or gas tanks that you can cause to explode. With or without intervening trees, it's mostly turkey shoots for both sides. And to make matters worse, the tough enemy armor exacerbates the monotony of such encounters. It's not uncommon for the metallic runners to just stand there and rake you with automatic fire while you pop in and out taking pot shots until they explode. It's just boring. To cite an example, if you think about it, the first encounter assault recon game is just a series of encounters and surroundings that do not change. The whole thing is largely office environs, but it's how these environs are laid out that make the firefights interesting. You can lay mines between cubicles and wait with glee as replica soldiers funnel into the kill box that you set up. Moreover, the clones oftentimes seek cover, and you can turn this around by lobbing a grenade or two into the confined space they huddle up in. Each firefight is a gratifying affair as you strafe melee enemies and throw grenades. Now, there were moments when Generation Zero shone. In the few times there were corridors or where the encounters took place between houses, the encounters proved interesting and cathartic. The joy of luring in robots while you wait there with a shotgun was just glorious. Sadly, these were few and far between. Now, this is not to say that large expanses are bad, but the game would be much better if they mixed it up with interiors like abandoned factories with staircases. With a game world that's mostly devoid of NPCs, Generation Zero desperately needs this variety to keep things fresh for its players. I'd also like to see stealth mechanics being improved. I don't know if it was because of the suppressors I scavenged, but even with silenced guns, once I started firing at the metallic canines, all of them were able to spot me. So much for taking them down one at a time, or luring one from the rest of the pack. There's also the matter of feedback. I'd like to hear robots emit a sound if you've scored a headshot or if you somehow damage a critical component. You might think audio cues inconsequential, but it's effects like these that separate good games like, say, Victor Van from exceptional ones like Torchlight 2. With the former, the weight of your strikes and spells are muted relative to most games. Compare this with Torchlight 2's that really make you feel like you're laying down the hurt. Even the engineer's normal hammer strikes feel meaty. And for this aspect, that's just it really. 2 points. 1. If you want firefights to be just grindy affairs like that of Borderlands, throw in spectacular superlative effects, or, I don't know, maybe radio chatter? For me, it keeps things interesting. And 2. If not, or if the genre doesn't allow for these effects, throw in more terrain variety like that of Fears. Or make some early game enemies easier to take down while increasing their numbers. The summary is just this: make each, or failing that, most encounters feel satisfying for the player. As mentioned, the foundations are there: components to make traps, a good AI, class-based multiplayer. All it needs now is for the devs to fully capitalize on these and make multiplayer classes really have impactful, tangible strengths and weaknesses. Encounters that allow for players to feel they've really used tactics, stealth mechanics that are rewarding, and or firefights that feel meatier in terms of graphics and sound effects. So, do I recommend this game? That depends with Systemic Reaction's level of commitment. If they abandon this unpolished gem right now, then no. I feel it has much to evolve before it becomes a game that I can truly invest my time into. That would be a shame since the AI is impressive. Except sometimes the hounds would stand still where they could have flanked. Please fix that. The graphics sublime, and there was zero latency the 3 times I joined a multiplayer match. Though I did suffer 4 to 5 crashes in the 8 hours or so I played the game. However, if they continue the same level of responsiveness they're showing the community right now, always dredging up feedback, dissecting it, and implementing what they can into Generation Zero, then yes, I wholeheartedly recommend this game. I firmly believe that with continual development for several months, this game will become the powerhouse that it's showing the potential to be. This has been Retroburn, and if you find some points in this Generation Zero mini reviews to be topics worth discussing, please subscribe. Stay cool, stay frosty.